The chamber fell silent. Ambassador Min Jun Park stood perfectly still at the center of the Galactic Council floor, his hands clasped behind his back, his expression unreadable. Above him, arranged in concentric rings that spiraled up toward the vaulted crystal ceiling, sat representatives from 247 species. Some floated in anti-grav fields. Others perched on pedestals designed for their unique physiologies. A few existed as holograms projected from distant worlds. Every single one of them was laughing. Trained animals, Senior Counselor Vexthera repeated, her 6 eyes glittering with amusement. The Krell ambassador's carapace clicked as she shifted her massive form. That is what you are, human. Useful, yes. Trainable, certainly. But sentient? She made a sound like escaping steam, Krell laughter. The vote is concluded. Your petition for full council membership is denied. Again. Park didn't flinch. He'd heard worse in the 5 years he'd served as Earth's ambassador. The first time he'd stood in this chamber, he'd been 28 years old, burning with righteous anger, ready to defend humanity's worth with speeches about art, philosophy, and scientific achievement. He was 33 now. He'd learned. The humans will continue in their current status, Council Prime Thelnax announced, his translated voice echoing through the chamber. The Archon's form shimmered with bioluminescent patterns, satisfaction, Park had learned. Support species. Category 3. Your contributions to maintenance, logistics, and technical services are appreciated. More laughter. The Zypherian delegate actually applauded, the gesture somehow more insulting than mockery. Park reached into his jacket pocket. The movement was small, casual, but something about it made the laughter fade. He withdrew a slim data tablet, its human design primitive compared to the quantum interfaces the other species used. I understand, Park said quietly. His voice was calm, almost gentle. Before I leave, there is one administrative matter. A formality. Make it quick, janitor, someone called from the upper tiers. More laughter, but nervous now. Park touched the tablet. As of 0800 Universal Standard Time today, the Human Commonwealth invokes Article 7 of the Minority Species Protection Act. We are formally notifying this council of our intent to terminate all treaty obligations, effective immediately. The laughter stopped. You, what? Thelnax leaned forward, his bioluminescence shifting to confusion. All treaties, Park repeated. All mutual defense pacts. All trade agreements. All technology sharing protocols. All resource extraction licenses. All diplomatic exchanges. He looked up, meeting the eyes, or optical organs, of the assembled council. And all personnel assignments. Vexthera's mandibles clicked rapidly. You can't. Article 7, Paragraph 12, Park continued, his voice still soft. Any species denied full council membership for more than 50 standard years may withdraw from all obligations without penalty. Earth submitted its first petition for full membership 50 years, 2 months, and 6 days ago. This is absurd, a Manthari representative hissed. You're throwing a tantrum because we won't give you a seat at the table. No, Park said. We're exercising our legal rights. There's a difference. He tapped the tablet again. Somewhere in the chamber, someone gasped. Park knew what they were seeing on their displays now, the list of withdrawn personnel. It was very, very long. Effective immediately, Park said, all human personnel are recalled to Commonwealth space. All 37 million of them. The number hung in the air like a detonation. 37 million, someone whispered. Park began reading from the tablet, his voice a steady cadence. 212,000 shipboard engineers. 890,000 station technicians. 460,000 medical personnel. 1.2 million software architects and systems analysts. 600,000 agricultural specialists. 300,000 Stop, Thelnax commanded. Park stopped. He looked up. You're bluffing, the Council Prime said. You need those positions. Your economy depends on the wages those workers send home. Perhaps, Park acknowledged. But they're coming home anyway. He smiled, a thin, cold expression that never reached his eyes. We've designated the withdrawal protocol midnight. Seemed appropriate, given that it's about to get very dark in here. You arrogant, Vexthera rose from her seat. Do you have any idea what you're doing? Yes, Park said simply. We're going home. All of us. Every human doctor stitching up your people after accidents your own physicians won't handle. Every human programmer debugging code your AIs can't understand. Every human mechanic keeping your ships flying when your own engineers give up. He paused. Every human peacekeeper standing between your rival factions because neither side trusts the other's troops but both sides trust ours. The silence was total now. You'll collapse, someone said. Your economy, your infrastructure, you need us. Maybe, Park agreed. But you're going to find out very quickly how much you need us. He tucked the tablet back into his pocket. The first transports leave in 6 hours. We estimate full withdrawal will take 48 days. We've been efficient in our planning. He turned to leave, then paused. When he spoke again, his voice carried to every corner of the vast chamber. For 50 years, you've called us janitors. Mechanics. Trained animals. And we smiled and nodded and fixed your problems and kept your worlds running. He looked back over his shoulder. Now you get to see what breaks when the janitors go home. Ambassador Min Jun Park walked toward the exit. His footsteps echoed in the silence. Behind him, the Galactic Council began to understand what they had done. The countdown to midnight had begun. The exodus begins. The first sign came at Kelver Station, a massive trading hub orbiting the gas giant Kelver Prime. Chief Engineer Sarah Chen stood in the main operations center, surrounded by 300 human technicians, all of them staring at their terminals in silence. On the main display, departure schedules scrolled past, transport after transport, all heading to the jump point that would take them out of Krell space. Chief. A young tech named Rodriguez looked up from his console. The Krell supervisor is asking why we're running diagnostics on all the primary systems. Tell him we're documenting current operational status for the transition, Chen said calmly. Standard protocol. What she didn't say was that they were also quietly disabling the patches, workarounds, and hidden fixes that humans had installed over the past 12 years. Not breaking anything. Not sabotaging. Just, removing the improvements that weren't in the original designs. Letting the systems return to factory specifications. The Krell engineers would get exactly what they'd paid for. Nothing more. Transport 7 is ready for boarding, came the announcement over the station-wide comm. Chen closed her terminal and stood. Around her, 300 humans did the same, moving with practiced efficiency toward the docking bays. Station Supervisor K.R. Mack arrived at a run, as much as a Krell could run, his carapace flushed with agitation. Where are you going? Your shifts don't end for another 6 hours. Our shifts just ended permanently, Chen said, not breaking stride. The replacement team should arrive in. She checked her data pad, 47 days. 47, you can't leave us with no one. We can and we are. It's in the withdrawal notice. You received it 3 hours ago. But who will maintain the reactor cooling systems? Who will recalibrate the gravity generators? Who will? Your engineers, Chen said. The ones who designed all this. I'm sure they'll figure it out. She kept walking. Behind her, K.R. Mack stood frozen in the corridor, beginning to understand. Day 3, the cracks appear. Dr. James Morrison had worked at the Zypherium Medical Research Institute for 8 years. In that time, he'd quietly revolutionized 17 different treatment protocols, fixed countless, unfixable, cases, and trained exactly 0 Zypherian doctors in his techniques. Not because he didn't try. Because they didn't listen. Humans have intuition, they'd say dismissively. We have science. Now, as he packed the last of his research into secured containers, Director SHYLNR burst into his laboratory. The patient in critical base 7 is coding, the Zypherian said, her chromatophores flashing distress. We need you to. No, Morrison said quietly, sealing another container. No. But you're the only one who can stabilize Xyler syndrome cases. The protocols you developed are in the database. Feel free to use them. We've tried. The success rate is only 40% when we follow your documented procedures. When you do it, it's 98%. Morrison looked at her. Have you considered that maybe I'm doing something that isn't in the documentation? Then tell us what it is. I tried. For 8 years. You said human medicine was primitive guesswork compared to Zypherian precision. He picked up his final container. My transport leaves in 20 minutes. I suggest you start learning quickly. People will die. Morrison stopped at the doorway. For a moment, his shoulders sagged with the weight of it. Then he straightened. Yes, he said quietly. They will. And every single one of those deaths is on the council that called us trained animals. He met her eyes. We begged for a seat at the table. We begged to be treated as equals, to share our knowledge as partners instead of servants. You laughed at us. He left. Behind him, alarms began to sound from critical base 7. Day 5, the cascade. The message traffic across the galactic network had become frantic. In the central communications hub on Archon Prime, analysts watched the pattern emerge with growing horror. Maintenance requests. Emergency technical consultations. Desperate pleas for, just one human engineer, to come back, just for a few weeks, just to fix this one critical problem. Mining platform Theta-7 in the Regulus sector just went offline, an analyst reported. Entire facility. 2,000 workers evacuated. What happened? Life support failure. The automated systems crashed and the backup manual controls, nobody knows how to use them. How is that possible? They've had that platform for 30 years. The human maintenance team always handled any system anomalies before they became critical. Apparently the Regulan engineers never actually learned the manual override procedures. Another screen flashed red. Jump Gate Sigma 9 is reporting calculation errors. 3 ships have misjumped in the last 2 hours. Sigma 9. But that's a major trade route. Was. The human navigators who double-checked the automated calculations all left yesterday. The analyst pulled up the incident reports. Look at this. The gate computer has been making micro-errors for years. The humans were silently correcting them before transmitting coordinates to the ships. Why didn't they report the errors? They did. 17 times. The Manthari overseers said the humans were being overly cautious and that the automated systems were functioning within acceptable parameters. The analyst pulled up another report. And another. And another. Power grids developing brownouts. Water purification systems showing contamination. Atmospheric processors running at reduced efficiency. Communications satellites drifting out of optimal orbit. All of it minor. All of it fixable. All of it happening at once, across 247 worlds. How long until someone on the council notices the pattern? Someone asked. The senior analyst stared at the cascade of red warnings spreading across the galactic map like a disease. They're noticing now, she whispered. Day 7, Council Emergency Session. This is sabotage. Vexthera slammed her foreclaw on the podium, the impact reverberating through the council chamber. Humans are deliberately breaking our systems. They're not breaking anything, Ambassador Park's voice came through the holographic display. He was transmitting from Earth now, no longer bothering to attend in person. They're just not fixing things anymore. The distinction is meaningless. On the contrary, it's the only distinction that matters. Park's expression was unchanged, that same calm, patient look he'd worn for 5 years. We fulfilled our contracts to the letter. We maintained your systems to specification. We provided technical support as outlined in our agreements. Now those agreements are void. People are dying, someone shouted. Yes, Park said quietly. They are. That's what happens when your hospitals depend on human doctors and you don't bother training your own physicians to the same standard. We didn't know. You didn't want to know, Park interrupted, his voice still soft but now edged with something harder. Do you want to know how many reports human engineers filed about critical system vulnerabilities? 57,000. Do you know how many were acted on? 4,000. Do you know what happened to the rest? Silence. They were marked as human overcaution and ignored. So we fixed the problems ourselves. Quietly. Without authorization. Without credit. Because the alternative was watching people die. Park leaned forward. We fixed your mistakes for 50 years. We covered up your engineering failures. We debugged your broken code. We saved your people when your own experts gave up. And you called us janitors. What do you want? Council Prime Felnax asked, his bioluminescence a muddy brown. Fear, Park had learned. What we've always wanted, Park said. Respect. Recognition. A seat at the table as equals. You're blackmailing the entire galaxy. No, Park corrected. We're showing you what the galaxy looks like without us. You have 41 days to decide whether you want us to come back. And if we do come back, it will be as partners, not servants. The transmission ended. In the council chamber, 247 species looked at each other and began, finally, to understand what humanity had been holding together all along. Day 7, Earth, Geneva. Min-June Park stood on the balcony of the Commonwealth headquarters, looking up at the night sky. Somewhere up there, the galaxy was beginning to fall apart. His assistant, Maria Okonkwo, joined him. The casualty reports are coming in. Station failures, medical emergencies, ship disasters. Current estimate is 12,000 dead across all species. Park closed his eyes. How many humans? None yet. We got everyone out of the hot zones first. But we knew this would happen. We planned for it. Yes, sir. And we're doing it anyway. Yes, sir. She paused. Because the alternative was staying on our knees forever. Park opened his eyes. In the distance, transport ships were visible in orbit, human ships, carrying human workers home. All of them. They'll come around, Maria said quietly. They have to. Maybe, Park said. Or maybe they'll find a way to manage without us. Either way, we'll know what we're worth. And if they don't come around? Park smiled, and this time it was genuine. Then we build our own future. Without them. Above them, the stars burned cold and distant. And somewhere among them, the galaxy was learning a lesson 50 years in the making. The midnight had only just begun. The breaking point, the Nexus Array, was the crown jewel of galactic civilization, a network of quantum processors that coordinated everything from jump gate calculations to intersystem banking to real-time translation matrices. It had been designed by the Archons, the oldest and most technologically advanced species in the Council. Over 2 centuries AGO.IT had never failed. Not once, until now. AT0347 Universal Standard Time, the array's primary node on Archon Prime began generating cascading errors. Within 6 minutes, the cascade had spread to all 47 nodes across Council space. Jumpgate started spitting out coordinates that would send ships into stars. Banking transactions froze mid-transfer. Translation matrices began outputting gibberish, turning diplomatic communications into incomprehensible noise. In the emergency control center, Chief Architect Veldar stared at the displays in horror. "This is impossible," he whispered. "The array has 17 layers of redundancy. It's mathematically incapable of total failure." "Then explain what we're seeing," Director Shwantal demanded, her holographic form flickering as the communication network destabilized. I can't." Veldar pulled up the diagnostic subroutines. Every single one returned the same message: system nominal. "The diagnostics say everything is fine." "The diagnostics are part of the array. They're analyzing themselves and finding no errors." Veldar's hands trembled over his controls. "It's like the array has lost the ability to recognize its own failures." A junior technician, one of the few Archons who'd occasionally worked alongside human programmers, suddenly looked up. "The meta-monitors." "What?" "The humans. They installed meta-monitoring systems. Programs that watched the diagnostics themselves, checking for logic errors in the error-checking protocols." She pulled up archived work logs. "Look. Over the past 18 years, humans filed 42 reports about potential recursive diagnostic failures. All marked as theoretical concerns and dismissed." Veldar felt something cold settle in his chest. "Show me the human modifications to the array." The technician's fingers flew across her interface. Then she stopped. Stared. "All of them?" "What do you mean, all of them?" She turned her screen around. The list of human-authored code patches scrolled on. And on. And on. "There are over 600,000 human modifications embedded in the Nexus array," she said quietly. "They're not in the main documentation because they were classified as minor efficiency improvements and routine maintenance patches. But they're everywhere. They're in every major system." 600,000, Veldar pulled up the actual code, diving deep into the array's operating system, and there, woven through the elegant Archon algorithms like a stabilizing framework, he found them. Human code. Inelegant, brute force, practical human code. Catching-edge cases the Archon programmers had never considered. Routing around logical impossibilities. Handling errors that mathematically couldn't happen, but did anyway. The array wasn't just designed by Archons. It was held together by humans, and now those humans were gone. "Get me the council," Veldar said, his voice hollow. "Now. Because it can't be quantified. It's intuition. Pattern recognition." Shylnr felt something shift in her understanding. He's not following an algorithm. He's reading the patient. Responding to feedback that isn't being measured by any of our instruments. That's impossible. Medicine is a science, not an art. "Maybe," Shylnr said quietly, "it's both." In Critical Base 7, the alarms flatlined. Patient 43 was gone. Day 16, the Engineering Revelation Station Supervisor Krmac floated in the zero-gravity engine room of Kelver Station, staring at the reactor cooling system that had just failed for the third time in 2 days. "I don't understand," the Krell chief engineer said, mandibles clicking in confusion. "The system is operating exactly as designed. All parameters are within specifications. But it keeps overheating." Krmac pulled up the maintenance logs from when humans had run the station. 0 cooling failures in 12 years. He dove into the detailed human maintenance records, the ones he'd never bothered reading before because, really, how complicated could it be, and there he found it. A note from Chief Engineer Chen, dated 8 years ago: "Reactor cooling system operates within specified parameters, but actual stellar wind variance in Kelver Prime's magnetosphere creates thermal load spikes every 3.7 hours that exceed design assumptions by 4%. Implemented manual adjustment protocol to compensate. Recommend redesign of heat exchangers, but current workaround is stable." See attached 47-page analysis. 47 pages analyzing a problem that, according to the official specs, didn't exist. Karmack pulled up more notes. Hundreds of them. Thousands. Gravity generator harmonics interact poorly with station rotation frequency. Adjusted timing cycles to prevent resonance cascade. Recommend full structural analysis. Primary life support has undocumented sensitivity to trace elements in recycled water. Installed additional filtration stage. Original designers appear to have never tested in actual operational conditions. Navigation computer makes rounding errors in long-range calculations. Errors are within acceptable tolerances per specification but accumulate over time. Created correction algorithm. Would take 20 minutes to fix in core code, but AI oversight won't allow modifications without formal review process, request pending for 7 years. On and on and on, every system on the station worked perfectly, because humans had spent 12 years finding and fixing problems that the original designers swore were impossible. They weren't just maintaining the station, Karmack said slowly. They were keeping it from killing us. The chief engineer's carapace paled. How do we do what they did? Karmack looked at the thousands of pages of notes, the hundreds of undocumented fixes, the years of accumulated wisdom. I don't know, he admitted. I don't know. Day 18, Council Emergency Session, Second Assembly. The council chamber was packed. Every species had sent their highest-ranking officials. The casual arrogance of 2 weeks ago had been replaced by something close to panic. Preliminary estimates, Council Prime Thelnax announced, his bioluminescence a sickly yellow, indicate that 17% of our critical infrastructure has degraded beyond safe operational parameters. 34% is showing concerning failure patterns. Only 49% remains fully operational. In 18 days, someone whispered. Medical facilities report a 40% increase in fatalities across all species, Thelnax continued. Jump gates have been restricted to essential traffic only due to navigation errors. 3 mining worlds have been evacuated. The Nexus array is running on emergency backup protocols and is not expected to remain stable beyond another 2 weeks. How did we not see this? Vexthera demanded. How did we not know we were this dependent? Because the humans made it invisible, Ambassador Park's voice came through the holographic display. He looked tired, the first time he'd ever appeared anything but composed. That was the point. You built systems that barely worked, then we made them work perfectly, and you never noticed the difference. So what? Someone shouted. You were just waiting for a chance to hold us hostage. No, Park said, and now his exhaustion was mixed with something that might have been pain. We were waiting for you to see us. To acknowledge what we contributed. To treat us as equals instead of servants. By letting people die. Park's expression hardened. We're not letting people die. You are. You built systems that required constant human intervention, then refused to admit that's what you'd done. You depended on our expertise, then called it menial labor. You needed our problem solving, then labeled it primitive intuition. He leaned forward, and for the first time in 5 years, his voice rose. We didn't make you dependent on us. You made yourselves dependent on us, then insulted us for the help you needed. And now you're angry at us for making you look in the mirror. The chamber erupted in argument. Accusations and counter-accusations flew. Some species demanded humanity be forced back to work. Others called for sanctions. A few, a very few, suggested perhaps humanity had a point. Through it all, Park sat in his office on Earth, watching the chaos, and waited. Day 21, the Zypherian Proposal. Dr. SHYLNR requested a private channel to Ambassador Park. Against the advice of his staff, he accepted. Ambassador, she said, her chromatophores showing patterns Park had learned meant distress and shame. I want to show you something. She transmitted a data packet. Park opened it. Medical records. Thousands of them. Each one showing a patient saved by human doctors, with side-by-side comparisons of outcomes when non-human physicians had attempted the same treatments. The difference was stark. "This is from the Zypherian Medical Institute alone," SHYLNR said. "Dr. Morrison saved 247 patients that our best physicians had declared unsavable. Not through some advanced technology we didn't have. Through seeing things we didn't see. Understanding patterns we didn't recognize. Caring in ways we'd systematized out of our practice." She paused, her patterns shifting to something Park couldn't quite read. "We didn't call you trained animals because we thought you were stupid, Ambassador. We called you that because admitting you were better than us at something, at many things, was unacceptable to our pride. Especially when you did it without the advanced degrees, the centuries of accumulated knowledge, the technological advantages we possessed." Park said nothing. "The Council will never admit this," SHYLNR continued. "Most of them will keep insisting you're saboteurs, blackmailers, terrorists. But some of us are beginning to understand." She looked directly at him. "You're not our servants. You never were. You were the only thing holding our arrogance together. And now?" Park asked quietly. "Now we're falling apart. And we deserve it." Her chromatophores flickered, resignation, acceptance. "But the people dying in our hospitals don't deserve it. The workers evacuated from failing stations don't deserve it. The species who never had a voice on the Council and depended on human protection don't deserve it." Park felt the weight of every casualty report settle on his shoulders. He'd known this moment would come. Had prepared for it. Had dreaded it. "What are you asking, Doctor? Give us a chance to do better. Not for the Council. For the galaxy." She paused. "Please." Park looked at her for a long moment. Then he closed his eyes. "I'll take your proposal to the Commonwealth Assembly," he said finally. "But Doctor, if we come back, everything changes. No more tolerance for being called janitors. No more quiet fixes to your broken systems while you take credit. No more invisibility. I understand. Do you?" Park opened his eyes. "Because from where I'm sitting, you're the first person who's apologized. One person out of 247 species. That's not enough to rebuild trust." "Then let it be a start," SHYLNR said. "We have to start somewhere." Park ended the transmission and sat in the darkness of his office, carrying the weight of 2 civilizations on his shoulders. Outside, the stars burned cold. Midnight wasn't over yet.